Hello, Guitar Smarts fans. Before you check out this podcast, I want to make you aware of a cool new place where you can interact with other Guitar Smarts listeners. It's a Facebook group called the Guitar Geek Hangout. That's where we hang out and talk about all things guitar. So, if you like the Guitar Smarts podcast, come and chat with Kiran and myself over in the Guitar Geek Hangout on Facebook. Maybe check out some pre-podcast clips and even get involved in asking and answering lots of questions from the other page dwellers. Hope to see you there.
That's a good idea. If your pedal board goes down and it's got like 300 meters worth of or feet of patch lead cabling, and you're trying to diagnose where the fault is, so maybe that's something again to do once you get home. But just rip off the two pedals you really need to get you through the rest of the gig. Chuck a 9-volt battery in them and crack on.
Greetings! Welcome to another Guitar Smarts podcast. Thanks for downloading. So here in the UK, we're now approaching what we hope is the end of lockdown. And at some point in June, all restrictions will be lifted. And we're hoping to get to some level of normalcy again. And that means gigging. The diary's starting to fill with gigs. We're going to have more places to go and play our guitar, turn up loud, and finally get back to doing what we love doing. But are you gig ready? Is your equipment in a good enough state to be gigged? Have you been taking care of things? Are you prepared? Are you gig fit? So this week we are talking about all of that stuff. The Scout's Guide to being gig ready. Tell us what you think in the comments on our social media pages. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/guitarsmarts. And we're also over on Instagram at guitar_smarts. That's where you can find us. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, remember to subscribe or follow so that your device will automatically download every time there's a new podcast and you don't miss a show. Anyway, thanks very much again for downloading. Let's get to it. How you doing, Kiran? You all right?
I'm great. I'm really good, mate. I'm looking forward to today's podcast episode because this appeals to quite a lot of my OCD natures in terms of like making sure you've got everything you need and making sure that everything is in order, because before we know it, we might be out and gigging again soon and lockdown might have ended and we're going to need to get ready to get back out there.
I've got gigs in the diary that are not yet cancelled and are after the date when lockdown's meant to go completely back to normal. So this is important. So what is it we're talking about?
So we thought it'd be a really good idea because, as you say, gigs are in the diary, and here in the UK on the 21st of June, so in a few weeks' time, we're hoping that things will start to feel a little bit more normal in terms of lifting of restrictions. And for us, that means that we can get back out there and start playing again. And to that end, it means we need to get all of our gear ready. That's been sitting there for 18 months. Making sure, obviously, the obvious things like plugging in everything, testing it, making sure it all works, dusting off the pedal boards and, getting our guitars ready. But we've spoken about that before in the podcast, right? How to keep your guitars in good nick and general maintenance. So, those guitars and things could behave while we were practicing during lockdown. But we thought what would be really good to chat through today is what we're calling the Boy Scouts Guide to Gigging. So this mentality of always being prepared. And I don't know about you, Matt, but I always like to have a bag, like a grab bag that is always packed with a bunch of things that generally stay in that bag for the sole purpose of being put in the boot and then accompanying me to a gig in case some eventuality happens, something goes wrong, and I've got in this bag something to bail me out of trouble, or just some things that I'll need that is beyond the kind of standard list of bring your guitar, bring your amp, etc. So it's kind of your lifeline bag that you take with you to a gig.
Exactly. Yeah. It's your first aid kit, isn't it, for your gig?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I don't have a separate bag for it, but it's always the front pocket of my gig bag for me. My pedal board case has got my pedal board and my cables in. My I've got my amp or my cabinet in the other hand, and then the guitar bag with the guitars in it, because it's a dual guitar case that I've got. So just throw it on my back with both guitars in, and then a big pocket on the front, and that's where all my get out of jail items. That's where they live.
So this is going to have to be a pretty big pocket, because you and I have been making some notes, and we've come up with a list of about 20 things that could feature in this bag. Now, I dare say for our listeners, some of these items on the list are going to be fairly standard and fairly obvious, right? But, for people that are getting new to gigging, and people have formed bands and made a commitment to join bands during lockdown, maybe this will be an entirely new list to them that they can take in its entirety. And for the gigging guitarist that's out there and is just getting back out after lockdown, maybe there'll be one or two things in there that you think, oh yeah, I'll chuck that in the bag. I haven't carried one of those before, but yeah, Matt and Kiran are right. Maybe I should be uber prepared, because I might need it. Who knows?
You never know.
Who knows?
One day you might thank us.
Yeah. Now we've made this list. Something's going to go wrong on our first gig, and we're going to need one of these things. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's get into it. So we've got a grab bag, right? And it might be a little hard case or just a backpack or something like that. But what's the number one thing that you would put in your grab bag?
So I think probably the first thing, and let's start with some of the really obvious things, and then we can maybe get into some of the more obscure things on the list of 20. But the obvious things is make sure that you have got a spare set of strings, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because a string breakage happens, and when it happens, it generally happens when you least expect it, obviously. And if you haven't got the stuff that you need to quickly make that string change, then you're going to be in a bit of a bind. So I would always say carry a full set of strings as spare, and not just the top E or some of the lighter gauge strings that you think are more susceptible to breaking, because it can happen to any string. So keep a spare packet in your grab bag or your first aid kit, or whatever you want to call it, for gigging, and just leave it in there. Like, don't be tempted to utilize that pack for, your next string change on one of your guitars at home, or etc., because you'll invariably forget to replace it.
Yeah. So this isn't your general string stock that you would use for setting up your guitars, changing strings at home, preparing your guitars. This set of strings is only for that situation where you might.
Yeah. Right. Exactly right. Because I've got like a little container here of all kinds of different strings for different types of guitars, and that's there for setting up people's guitars and keeping my own in good condition. But I always have, and I try and forget that they're even there, right? So I don't inadvertently use them. But in that gig bag, there's a couple of packets of strings that just stay in there, so that I know if I'm ever out on a gig, I don't have to worry about a string breakage. I've got the strings there, and I've got a full set, or even two full sets, depending on if it's different gauges for different guitars, to just get me out of trouble. Simple as that, really. How about you? You always taking spare strings?
Always take a set of spare strings with me. Sometimes a couple of sets. You can buy a lot of the big string manufacturers now will sell strings in kind of 3 packs, so you have 3 sets within that pack. I find that's a good thing to keep, because then if you do need to use a set, maybe you've got a gig on a Friday and on a Saturday, and you don't have the time to replace your spare set. If you do need to use any of them on a gig, then having like a set of 3 is a good thing to have as your spare. And I've invariably found over the years, I end up building up kind of like a bag of unused strings,
Yes.
from packs that you've kind of raided for the odd string.
Yeah, exactly.
And a good thing to do with that is keep it organized from high to low gauge. And what I've seen somebody else do before is used an old CD wallet that you might have in your car to keep like 20 or 30 CDs in, and use that to put your strings in. So one wallet might be a 10 gauge, one wallet might be a 13s, and just organize them like that, and have a little CD wallet off to the side full of lots of random strings to kind of keep you out of jail. But I guess that's just keeping organized, right?
It is, yeah. That's super organized. I hadn't even appreciated the thought of keeping them all like that. Mine tend to kind of get bundled together with an elastic band around them to keep them there, and so long as I know which one is which, that's generally fine. But yeah, I like the idea of that CD wallet to kind of keep all those ones that kind of accumulate from part packs that you've dipped into. I mean, that's probably the number one thing on the list, right? Number 2 would be, if you have the luxury of it, and you can, and I would highly advise it, is a spare guitar, because there's nothing quicker if you break a string than just being able to put down your current guitar and pick up a new one that you've got, or your spare one rather. That's next to you, and then you can change the strings that broke, or string that broke at the interval or something. So I would probably say number 2 on the list is bring another guitar that you can utilize.
Absolutely. Last year I didn't exactly spend a huge amount of money, but I went on to that fantastic, German distributor Thomann, and I purchased from them one of their own branded dual guitar gig bags. So it'll take 2 guitars in separate compartments, and it wasn't expensive. I think it was about 40 quid, something like that, delivered. Mm-hmm. It's really well padded. The zips on it are fantastic. Loads of storage space. And I got that purely for the convenience of, I don't want to have to carry 2 cases to the gig. I want to be able to get out of the car and make one trip from the car to the gig. So I thought I'll get a case I can put both guitars in. And also now, I don't have an excuse not to take both guitars to a gig and have a spare, because I don't want to be cursing myself and think, if I'd just brought the other guitar, I wouldn't be stood here for 5 minutes changing a string with everyone watching me. So
yeah. Cool. All right, so spare strings, spare guitar. These are the kind of basic etiquettes, right? As a guitarist turning up to a gig, because there's nothing worse for your band as well if you're unable to play your instrument because of something so simple as a string break, right? It's kind of expected. You will be there to quickly change a string, or even better, pull out the spare guitar. All right, so next things on the list. Maybe let's talk about some tools to get the job done. So, let's stay on the theme of everyone's worst nightmare, breaking a string. Maybe not everyone's worst nightmare. There are worse things that could happen at a gig, I'm sure.
Unless the string snaps and comes and whips you up in the face and cuts you.
That could be pretty bad.
Yeah, that could be pretty bad. Anyway, sorry.
You look up and realise that you've forgotten to put your trousers on that day, your pants, and you're just standing there naked. That could be bad.
Quickly.
That could be bad. Yeah, is that just my reoccurring nightmare?
Might just be yours. Yeah.
I
think I know where you're going with this, though. So you say not just having the strings, but also the ability to change them quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, exactly. Your adrenaline's going to be pumping. You're going to be wanting to get that remnant of that broken string that's on that guitar off the guitar quickly. And you're going to want to be able to get the new one on quickly. And be that at the interval, because you've been prepared enough to get your spare guitar along, or because that's your only guitar you've got and you need to get it fixed quickly. So, like most of us at home, when we're changing strings, we'll have a string winder and a decent pair of string cutters. I would highly advocate that you get a spare set of these and keep them in the gig bag. They're not expensive items. If you just own one set and use them for home, you'll invariably leave them at home. And I think, you're going to really need them the most and appreciate them the most when you need to get things done quickly.
Yes.
So invest, I would say items 3 and 4, definitely get yourself a decent string winder and cutters for making quick string changes. And I should say we're not sponsored on this on the Guitar Smarts podcast yet. If anyone wants to sponsor us, then brilliant. Please do. But having said that, we've been speaking to the guys at Music Nomad, and here in the UK, they're local UK distributor HTD, and the guys there have been really kind to send us a bunch of stuff for us to try out in terms of samples. And they've also sent us a demo pair that we can try and tell our audience what we think of their string winder, or grip winder as they call it, and their string cutters, which they call their grip cutters. And I can understand why they've put the word grip into both of the titles of these. They are really nicely ergonomically built, and they sit really nicely in the hand. The grip cutters I'm particularly impressed with. They're just a really nice size, not too clumsy in the hand. They fit really well. They've got a nice little protector over the blades to stop it kind of fouling on anything else that's in your gig bag. And one side of them is machined nice and flat, so you can make some really close cuts to the string post to cut off any of that excess string. And similarly, the grip cutters, just really nicely designed. And I think these Music Nomad products are really decent. And then I would say I think they retail for around the £20 mark each. So I would say they're not the cheapest item. They're not extortionately expensive, but the quality of feel to them is evident. And I don't know about you, Matt, but I've gone through loads of string winders in my life because I've made the mistake previously of buying those really kind of cheap ones that you see in the guitar shop kind of counter. Yeah, they are, right? They look kind of cheap and plasticky, and they serve a purpose, but I've broken loads of them in the past. So, so these ones are decent. These ones are really nice. So yeah, thanks to the guys at Music Nomad and HTD for loaning us those. I think they're really, really nifty, and I would definitely advocate keeping those in the gig bag for quick string changes, especially when you're out on a gig.
Fantastic. I think, is that all you need, do you think, if you're changing strings quickly on the fly at a gig? Do you think a good string winder and some cutters, those are the essentials?
I think probably. I think what would be useful as well, though, if you're kind of changing it at an interval or you're off to the side of the stage, is maybe a clip-on tuner to keep that in the gig bag as well. I personally keep a tuner on my pedal board, but that's for use during the gig. It's quite often handy to be able to have a tuner there to just make it sure it's up to pitch as best as possible. What you might want to do, though, is have a set of Allen keys as well in the gig bag.
Yes.
Just in case anything has come awry from when you've kind of broken that string, and you might want to make some little changes to something like a saddle piece if it's a kind of S-style guitar with those kind of saddle pieces. Or indeed, I would keep a set of Allen keys that kind of pertain to your instrument for things like truss rod adjustment and stuff while you're at a gig, because guitars can change with different temperatures and things. And if you've taken your guitar out of a nice warm house, put it into your car, driven to a gig, and all of those types of things can happen with temperature that can affect the guitar. So obviously let your guitar acclimatise to the gig venue once you've got there, and give it a chance to settle in before you make any adjustments. Otherwise, you'd just be chasing the kind of relief on the neck. But yeah, I would say keep a couple of Allen keys that kind of pertain to the truss rod adjustment and to the saddle pieces handy, because you might need those.
If you play a Floyd Rose guitar, you'll probably need a whole set of Allen keys, right, for various different things.
Yeah, do you know what? It's not too bad if you break one string on a guitar with a Floyd Rose, because generally the rest of the strings will keep it there or thereabouts. So when you put a new string in and apply the tension back, you'll rebalance it. But yeah, I would say it is a bit of a pain, because if you've got a Floyd Rose with like a locking nut piece on it, you're going to have to undo those first of all. Then you've got all of the kind of locking pieces that are on the Floyd Rose that keep that string pinned in. Yeah. So yeah, I would say if you're taking a guitar with a Floyd Rose to a gig and you break a string, that's definitely a case of having a spare guitar to hand.
and I've had gigs where I've been playing with the Les Paul and I've broken a string and I've been able to get through maybe a couple of songs before the break or whatever without having to change the string. It's the high string, I can get by without it for a couple of songs, because it's a fixed instrument, isn't it? There's no tremolo system on it. It stays in tune, but I've done gigs where I've broken a string on the Strat, and that's it. I've got to stop middle of the song. I have to stop and change guitar because it just goes wildly out of tune, the whole thing, because it's a balanced trem. So if you're a player who's got, if you've got floating tremolo systems on your guitars, definitely have a spare guitar, because you're not going to be able to carry on the moment a string breaks. It's not going to happen, is it?
Exactly. I used to tempt fate a lot, on gigs. Was it you that I was gigging with? I can't remember if it was you or if it was Damien Lodrick or who else ever it was I was gigging with. I went through a period of just tempting fate by just saying, no, I've got spare strings on me, I'm not going to take a spare guitar. And I'd always say, what's wrong with you? Bring a spare guitar. You've got guitars to bring, so bring a spare one. Why worry? I was like, nah, it's fine. I never break strings.
It's like driving around without a spare tyre, isn't it?
It really is. I've had it happen and it's really annoying. So, yeah.
sorry to interrupt this super interesting conversation. However, if you've made it this far, maybe you should subscribe to the Guitar Smarts podcast. Go and do that now, and then let's get right back to it.
Cool. All right. I think we've covered off quite a bit in terms of like the string side of things.
And actually, just to point out, we've spoken a lot about the process of changing strings there. One thing I would say is to go back through our older podcasts, go to episode 6, which was part 1 of that Guitar Car 101 that you presented, Kiran. And the first couple of points in that podcast, out of a series of things, was changing strings. And that is a really good starting point. If you've never really understood how to change strings properly, sometimes not putting strings on well enough leads to string breakages. So if you're struggling with string breakages, go and listen to that podcast, and you can learn a lot about how to better your process for changing your guitar strings.
Definitely. And I would say the time you spend learning, and it will take you a few seconds, but figuring out what the exact locking principle is when you wrap the string around your particular guitar's tuning post or machine head post, that knowledge will pay dividends, none more so than when you break a string on a gig, because you want to be able to lock that string off, get some wraps around the machine head and tuning post quickly, and be able to stretch it very quickly so that it stabilizes. Yes. And if you haven't attached that string properly and efficiently and effectively to the tuning post, you'll find for the rest of the gig it's just drifting in pitch. So yeah, that's really good advice, Matt. Go back and listen to that episode if you haven't checked it out, and we'll give some pointers on how to do that. Cool.
Fantastic. Okay, so what other disasters are you preparing for?
Yeah, we don't want to keep tempting fate for these gigs that we're going to have in the new era post lockdown. But we've got time, so let's be prepared. So other things, things that kind of worry me when I'm driving to a gig that I think, did I pack that? Are silly things that we can all keep spares of again in the gig bag. So spare guitar strap, I think is like keep a spare guitar strap, because what are you going to do if you've forgotten your guitar strap? Sit down on top of your amp for the rest of the gig.
Exactly that. Make one out of gaffer tape.
Yeah, exactly. Keep a spare guitar strap, and straps can break or whatever. It's rare, but you're more likely to forget your guitar strap, I think. But
yes.
So keep a spare one. Just get a cheap one. Get a cheap one that is not your main guitar strap, but if you're in a pinch,
lives in your case.
Exactly. Well, do you know what? One thing is about this Boy Scouts guide that you kind of reminded me of as we were chatting about this last week is it's not just yourself you're looking after by having some of this stuff in the gig bag, right? It's the rest of your bandmates as well, because you're a band, you're a team trying to get through a gig and enjoy it. And if one of you is not having a good gig because they've forgotten their strap or forgotten their patch cable, and so one of their favorite pedals is no longer in the loop, or whatever it is, right? Yeah. If you can help out your band members by kind of volunteering this stuff forward from your kind of little gig bag, they'll be massively appreciative, and you'll all have a better gig.
You'll all have a better gig. You'll be known as the guy who can be relied on. You're the prepared guitarist. You're more likely to get the gigs, especially if it's like a wedding band that you're depping for. If you turn up well prepared and you've got all the kit and you can solve other people's problems as well, you're going to get the callbacks, and you're going to get calls from other people because they've recommended you to other bands. So it doesn't just help you, helps your people around you, and it can be beneficial to your career as well. It's good to be prepared and have things as a backup. So
definitely.
So I would have, like you said, I'd have a spare guitar strap, but also all the main cables as well. So if I've got a cable from my guitar to my board, and from my board to my amp, or speaker cable from an amp head to a speaker, or whatever, I'd want a spare of each of those things, because those are super important parts of the essential parts to the signal chain. Without any one of those, my rig can't work, and therefore I can't gig. So I must have backups for each of them.
Yeah, exactly. So, 2 or 3 spare little patch cables, spare, jack to jack cables. A couple of those can really, really bail you out when when something goes down. And you'll usually find out about this at sound check, right? And so you've got time then to go through your bag and figure out what's wrong in your signal chain and fix it. So, have that stuff with you and it'll get you out of a pinch, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like probably a lot of the smaller items and some of the kind of obvious items, right? Here's one that I need your advice on, because it's something that I've been looking into and haven't made a decision on yet, right? But this is to do with our amps, right? I don't take a spare amp to a gig. Now, for a long time, I was gigging with multi-effects units, some of the Line 6 stuff in particular, where I was running it through a cab for the onstage sound and my sound, but I knew that if I needed to, I could always run that through a desk. I had the option of doing that as well if I kind of forgot my cab or the speaker blew out or whatever. There wasn't necessarily a backup to that plan if the Line 6 went down, but now that I've moved over to this kind of full kind of valve amp setup, one of the things that always concerns me is if I have a tube that goes out, if I blow a fuse on the amp or whatever, I don't have a backup plan to that. So I'm kind of thinking I need to have some sort of backup amp solution, and there's a few different options for that. What was your advice on that?
It depends on the approach you take. Like you said, there's a few different options, but the first thing to, I guess, point out is, as guitarists, that amplifier is multifunctional in a sense, because that you've got a Blues Deluxe, haven't you? Fender Blues Deluxe, is that right? Yeah. So that there's two things. It's for the audience to make sure they can hear you, but it's your part of your sound as well, isn't it? So that you can't carry two of them around. One of them never gets used unless the other one breaks. But that's the only way to kind of make sure you've got a consistent sound if one or the other, if the amp breaks down, right? So that's option number one. Carry two of those amps around. Nobody's going to do it. In fact, what most people are going to do if they've got two of those amps is they're going to use them both in a stereo rig or something like, just completely over the top. But
Joe Bonamassa does it, I believe.
He does.
I believe to serve that purpose. I think he bought all of the Tweed amps in the world, didn't he? To just make sure.
I think he has them all. Yeah, Joe Bonamassa's got all the Tweed amps, and Steve Lukather's got all the stereo rigs. There you go, Ollie.
That's right.
Take that one out of your box. Anyway, so obviously it's not efficient to carry around for most people a spare like-for-like amplifier. So you can take a couple of approaches. You can have another amplifier that is, small, lightweight, like a mini head, like a lunchbox amp kind of thing. What I have as my main amp, actually, and I have this because it's lightweight, it's small, I don't have to carry that much around. I use an orange Terra stamp. Big fan of the Terra amplifiers in general. They've been around for years. I think they sound superb. Great pedal platform. And this Terra stamp's great, but it's about the size of a normal guitar pedal. So you could have that in your gig bag. I think it's a 20-watt Class D amplifier in there as well. So you could plug that straight into the speaker on your amp if you had the right adapter. And that way, if your combo amp or head goes down, you can plug that in straight away and get going. And there you go. You could even keep it on your board and have a way of switching it in an emergency. So that's one thing you could do. You could carry with you a small profile amplifier like that. Ashdown do one as well. Hughes and Kettner do them. So floor-based, pedal-sized amp. The other thing you can do is you could keep a preamp with you, something like a Palmer pocket amp, or Strymon do one called what's it called? I forget what it's called, actually. Strymon do one, though. Iridium, that's what it's called. Sorry, the Strymon Iridium.
Oh, yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a preamp pedal, and it's a really good-sounding pedal. And it's just meant to replicate the front end of your amplifier before it goes into a power stage. So you could use that as a pedal going into your amp, but what you can also do is you can have speaker emulation and power amp emulation built into those preamps, and then you could take a DI straight from the pedal into your PA system. And that way, if your guitar amp goes down, you can still get sound to your audience through your PA system, and it'll still sound really good. So using a preamp pedal like that's really good.
That's cool. Why aren't we all doing that? Why are we lugging around guitar amps now?
So many people do.
I mean, because we're all running through PAs and with fold-back monitoring and stuff in front of us. I mean,
exactly that. And it's better for your ears almost as well. I mean, so many pro bands now anyway go out with on silent stages with in-ear monitoring. And what's the point if you're a pro guitarist of dragging your custom-made Dr. Z amplifier head and 4x12 cab to a gig when you can just DI straight out of your top quality preamp pedal into the desk and get given a stereo feedback and listen to yourself perfectly. You've got more room on stage, less things to pack up, less things to set up. Still sounds great. You're still getting paid. It's a really good way to work anyway. I agree. But that's a good way you can do it. You can have a preamp pedal on your board as well that you can use in your normal rig with your amp, but it gives you the option to DI out a really good quality sound into your desk. So that's something that you can do. And then even cheaper than that, you could just get like Electro Harmonics do like a power amp pedal. I think Moore do a power amp pedal as well, which kind of replicates a power stage from an amplifier. So that's another thing you could do. You could just have that on your board, and then your pedals can go straight into that, and you can just power a speaker cabinet, bypass the front end of your amp. Probably wouldn't sound as good, but we're talking about getting out of jail, aren't we, here, rather than the ideal rig.
Exactly. So yeah, Moore do one that I've seen, which is this Baby Bomb, which is like this 30-watt power amp pedal. I don't know. Can you DI out of those into a desk as well, or is that just for powering a cabinet?
It depends if it has speaker emulation as well. So
of course. Okay.
Some of these preamps that they either come with or they allow you the ability via USB to upload impulse responses, which is basically it's a file that tells the pedal what the speaker does to a signal, so that when you hear that signal, it sounds like it's coming out of a speaker. Because that's, it's not just the sound of your preamp that you're hearing from your guitar, it's the power stage and it's the speaker that's affecting it. If you were to just listen to the signal straight out of your preamp, it probably wouldn't sound very nice. So you don't want that going to the PA. You want the PA to get something that at least sounds like it's coming out of a speaker. But there's a lot of great products out there that do that kind of thing. For not much money, you can have something in your gig bag that gets you out of jail if you're prized Blues Deluxe amp or Princeton or whatever it is that you've got. If it does die a death, you can still carry on and do the gig.
That's good advice, mate. I'm definitely going to look into a couple of those that you've mentioned. And it's a nice insurance policy to have, isn't it? For even the cheaper end of that market, for less than $100, just to have something in the gig bag that gets you out of trouble. I think that's worth it.
Is there a worse feeling as well? Because I've been there of being at a gig and knowing something's not quite right. Like I've had problems with my volumes kind of going up and down, and I'm like, I know something's not right there. I've probably got like a dry joint on a tube or whatever, and it's probably heating up and cooling down because of that. And I'm getting more and less volume, and you just, and it's kind of squeaky bum time, the whole gig, isn't it? You're thinking, is it going to blow up?
It really is, man.
You don't want it. Be prepared.
Scouts honor. I've had the same. Yeah, I've had exactly the same thing, and it's really nerve wracking. And you think it's distracting to your playing, right?
Oh,
that's what it is, and it means you can't focus and enjoy the gig. You're constantly worrying, is it gonna die completely at any moment? It's just a horrible feeling, and definitely something that if that happens mid-gig, the ability to be able to just go, okay, you know what, it's not going to be my desired exact tone, but for the rest of the gig, I'll just use this little amp pedal, sort it out at the interval, reroute my signal, and that'll get me through the second half of the gig, and then I can get my amp serviced or whatever and repaired, ready for the next gig. Yeah, good shout.
Exactly that. So that's not something everybody would do, but it's definitely, I think, if you're gigging regularly, it's worth doing for sure.
Right. What other things then do we think is useful to have? I mean, obviously, I say obviously, but are we all taking guitar stands and things like that?
Absolutely be taking guitar stands.
Shouldn't you?
Well, I don't want to rest my, both my guitars aren't exactly expensive, but they're very, very, they mean a lot to me sentimentally because my Strat was a 30th birthday present from my wife, and my Les Paul was a 21st birthday present from my parents. That I'll never get rid of those guitars, and I certainly don't want to damage them unnecessarily. if there's such a thing as necessary damage. And then the easiest way to damage your instruments is to leave them unsupported, or precariously perched against your amplifier or something, or against a wall. Take a guitar stand that's going to take the weight of your guitar and will not fall over. You don't want something that just topples over anyway, something that supports your guitar well. Absolutely. I would do it.
I agree. It gives me heart palpitations when I see people at gigs that just lean their gig up against like one of the tables in the bar area, or just lean it up against their amp.
Yeah.
And, that's cool. Whatever. I mean, it's their stuff, right? They can do what they want with it. But for me, like the cost of like a $20, £20 guitar stand versus hundreds to repair a broken headstock, it's just like it's a no-brainer. One thing to point out though that people may not be aware of, and this is we normally do listeners kind of questions at the end, but I'll do it now. As someone asked me a question this week where they had a lot of gunk and kind of build up and residue between where the headstock joins the neck.
Okay.
And they said, do you get this on your guitars, from the guitar stands or wall hangers and stuff? I was like, no, I don't. And there's a reason that I don't. So this person that I was speaking to actually had nitrocellulose guitars. And at that point where the guitar stand or wall hanger that they were using comes in contact with the guitar itself, at that juncture between the headstock and the neck, what was actually happening was the foam in the guitar stand or wall hanger bracket actually contains chemical compounds that melt nitrocellulose from when you expose it to that for too long. So I swear by a brand called Hercules, who make guitar stands and wall hangers. And I mean, if you've got polyurethane finished guitars, it's fine. You can generally use whatever guitar stand, right? Just as you said, Matt, pick one that's a sensible one that's going to do the job properly and stop your guitar getting knocked over. But if you've got a nitrocellulose finished guitar, really make sure that you choose the right type of stand if you're taking it out to a gig, or wall hanger if you're hanging them up at home, because if you use one that it's generally associated with the cheaper ones, where they use these kind of cheap foams, which for all intents and purposes look fine. They look nice and padded, and they look like they'll keep the guitar well supported. But if it's a nitro finished guitar, it will eat the lacquer, and you'll end up with some nasty scarring on your guitar, which is entirely avoidable by choosing a brand that utilizes safer materials in it.
Absolutely. So brilliant advice there. Make sure you're not doing unwanted damage to your guitar when you're trying to protect it by having it stood on something or hooked on something that's meant to be there to keep it out of harm's way, right? So yeah,
exactly.
Great advice. So yes, I definitely take a guitar stand for my guitar. I might not take a guitar stand for each guitar, but at least one guitar stand, so that I'll probably put one guitar away in its case during a break or before the gig, and then when I'm playing, I'll have the spur on the stand, and I'm obviously wearing the other guitar. If you sing or you do any backing vocals, take a spare mic and a spare mic cable as well. That's something else I think should always carry with you. In fact, even if you don't, it might even be one of those things to carry just in case. Because again, what if the singer rocks up and he hasn't got that microphone in his back pocket that he had to lug all the way to the gig?
Exactly. I think I've mentioned this to you before. I think I'm the only person that's managed to successfully and accidentally break an SM58 microphone by dropping it after having it for all of 2 weeks. I did manage to repair it. It's working again. So it was just a broken solder joint in it that I have. So I have that working again. But I didn't know I'd managed to successfully repair it until I took it out the other day. And what I bought off Amazon in the UK is you're laughing because I sent you a picture as well. I bought this absolutely phenomenal, how can I say this politely without offending people, because people do get really excited and kind of angry about copy gear. But I basically bought off Amazon an SM58 a replica. Let's call it a replica for once. And I mean, basically, it's pretty identical, and I got it for £7 delivered in the UK. That's like
So what's that, about $10? Yeah.
It's perfect. It's brilliant. Right. Okay. So
good.
now I've fixed my. Sounds absolutely fine, mate. It sounds brilliant. Yeah, no issues whatsoever. Yeah, completely happy with it. Okay, the SM58's got the edge, but really, honestly, for a ninth of the price of the SM58. So now I feel quite smug. I've got 2 mics now to take
two SM58s, haven't you?
Wow. Well, yeah. From a distance, yeah. if you look closely,
a Chibson SM50.
Oh, now you see that's where my cheapskate natures will not allow me to go. I mean,
you'd never do that. You'd never go and order yourself from wherever.
No, I wouldn't say I would never do that, but I don't mind. I don't mind when a guitar is inspired by another guitar and then they call it something else, right? And go like, okay, so this isn't a Gibson Les Paul, it's the vintage equivalent of a single cut style guitar inspired by that, and that's cool. And even this SM58 that I've bought, it's not branded as Sennheiser, Shure, product. It's something else, right? Yeah. So yeah, but. Yeah, Chibson debate. Yeah, to be discussed.
For another day.
That's for another day. That's for another day. I tell you what, though, I haven't set one up yet, so I can't comment. I'm only going by what other people have told me and what other guitar techs I've spoken to have told me, where they have seen one and they've said it was just a pain to work on, and there were so many things that needed fixing on it that it just wasn't worth the hassle. So, Anyway, wow. To be determined. Someone bring me a Chibson to set up, and maybe then I'll be waxing lyrical about how amazing they are. This was brilliant.
I don't think you will.
No, I don't think so.
It's not worth it, is it? Not these days when you can get a Harley Benton for the same money that is probably better. So people are paying for when they're buying Chibsons is that fake logo on the headstock that actually says Gibson. Yeah. It's not really a Gibson.
Again, I mean, there's the one thing around kind of taking somebody else's intellectual property and passing it off as your own. But the thing that worries me more is we've seen the state of the secondhand guitar market and how currently people are asking ridiculous prices for gear. What worries me is somebody that perhaps is looking to kind of buy a used Gibson and is inadvertently, through no fault of their own, but just because they might be inexperienced, purchases something thinking it's the real deal, and it turns out not to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's the bit that concerns me. And there will be people that will use these guitars as a way of making money off people that are less well informed. And I think that's the danger. Fine, if you want to buy a Chibson and use it for your own personal amusement and play it and have good fun with it, great. But I've got nothing against that per se, although you probably will have to spend a lot of money trying to get it to play anywhere near as well as something it's trying to be. But I've also heard horror stories of people almost buying them thinking they were the real thing. That's the worrying.
That is worrying because, like you said, you know how much they're going for on the second-hand market. There's a lot of potential to be ripped off, isn't there?
Exactly.
Huge amount. Anyway.
Exactly.
Let's finalise our little gig bag, emergency kit.
Definitely.
Picks, guitar picks, batteries.
Yep.
Absolutely. Definitely. Batteries and I mean, one thing you could do at least, even if you've got a pedal board with power supply. Let's say that dies. Maybe you want to quickly rip off the pedal that you need the most, like your gain pedal or whatever, and plug that in without the power supply. Take a battery for it if it's got a battery. Just another little thought there, I guess, to make sure you can quickly.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. If your pedal board goes down and it's got 300 meters worth of or feet of patch lead cabling, and you're trying to diagnose where the fault is, maybe that's something again to do once you get home. But just rip off the two pedals you really need to get you through the rest of the gig. Chuck a 9-volt battery in them and crack on. That's
just quickly slim down your rig. I mean, you might even want to just unplug out of your pedal board, go straight into your amp, and then and isolate it. And actually, we should talk at maybe another time about fault finding within your rig, because if you do have quite a complex rig, and most people, I think, do have relatively complex rigs these days with dedicated power supplies and, handmade patch cables and things like that. If something goes down, it shouldn't then immediately be a mystery to you as to how you solve your problem. You should think or have a plan in place as to how you fault find your problem. You have a signal chain from guitar to amp, and it's a single linear chain of things that could go wrong. And you should be able to quickly isolate where a problem is. If you unplug your guitar from your pedal board and go straight into your amp and something's still not working, the problem's not your board, right? If you unplug from your board and go straight into your amp and everything, and your guitar sounds fine straight into your amp, right, okay, my problem's at my board. You should be able to quickly do some quick steps like that to isolate where the problem is in your rig, rather than just go, oh, what is it? Just start unplugging random things. You should never just start unplugging random things. Do things carefully to try and isolate where the problem might be. So there's a little tip as well.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. We might focus on that on another episode, actually, because there is that whole kind of fault finding within a signal chain, which again becomes an infinitely more tricky thing to do when you've got adrenaline pumping and you've got a band live situation happening, and then you find that all of your common sense goes out the window because you're just trying to figure out what the hell's gone wrong.
Exactly that.
So we might put together another little list about that. Cool. All right. So yes, batteries, definitely keep some spare. Picks, obviously, keep some. Again, same principle as with your spare packet of strings. Keep one of those little pick holders stocked with, half a dozen or so of your favorite picks, and leave it in the gig bag.
Yeah.
Don't take them out.
Break glass.
Yeah, for break. That's it. Break in case of emergencies. Absolutely. What else? A tuner we've spoken about. Maybe keep a little clip-on tuner just for when you're doing your string changes or whatever. Especially definitely if you haven't got one already on your pedal board. Yeah, other little incidental things as well, like tape, gaffer tape, masking tape, duct tape, whatever you want to call it, to just keep things down on the ground and secure, cable runs, whatever. That's always useful to keep a roll of that.
Now you have a couple of almost non-music related things that you keep in your grab bag. I've never thought of until recently, and it's such a brilliant idea. So
definitely, like the things we've spoken about are your standard items, and then some of them are just kind of general housekeeping things. Something else we haven't mentioned is like power strips, extension leads. Keep a couple of those because the plug sockets will never be where you want them. The plug sockets will never be where you want them to be at a gig. But there's a few things that I keep now in the gig bag, and out of everything, these are the things that I've used the most. So number one on the list is some sort of painkiller, like ibuprofen, or if you can, over the counter in your country, paracetamol. I mean, it's the unwritten rule of gigging, isn't it? Which is, unless your arm has fallen off, you turn up and you do the gig. So having a bad cold or a little bit of minor flu or something like that isn't really a good enough reason to not get through the gig. And having some drugs on hand, or just having a headache, or whatever it may be, just some muscle pain or whatever it is. Maybe this is just stuff that happens when you get older, Matt. Maybe young people don't worry about this stuff. I didn't used to keep painkillers in my gig bag. I don't know when that started happening.
I've never done it, but I can think of a number of occasions in the past where I've been unwell at gigs and just wanted to kind of, I don't want to be here. I've got a headache, or I just don't feel well. And actually having some painkillers, and, it would have probably sorted me out. It's a good tip.
Exactly. I always have a little ritual now of making sure that I stop off and get some cash out, because it's always good to have some cash in your pocket, because that always comes in handy when you get to places and they're like, we don't take cards or whatever. So a little bit of cash, and then I'll always go and buy a bottle of water as well. So that's one of my little pre-gig rituals is get a little bit of cash out in case of emergencies, and get a bottle of water. One, to help you take your painkillers. It's terrible, isn't it? It's
like, to help service your painkiller addiction.
I would say it's a healthy disclaimer. This is strictly legal pharmaceuticals, over the counter stuff, and please use responsibly. This isn't to numb the pains of general life. This is just in case you're actually genuinely ill. And earplugs. We haven't spoken about this, right? But increasingly. I think this is something that people need to be really conscious of. And you can get decent earplugs, which have a degree of kind of acoustic sensibility to them, such that they don't completely deaden all of the sound and make it impossible for you to play or hear what you're trying to do. But I think it's really important to look after your ears as well. So something I've just started to do really is carry earplugs with me, so that if it feels like it's uncomfortably loud on stage, then I can protect my ears a little bit.
Absolutely. You don't want to end up with any conditions that stop you from making music when, it's something that we all want to continue doing as long as we can.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. So yeah, that's our list of about 20 odd things that I think we've covered there. It's quite a lot. It's good.
Absolutely. And one thing I'd just probably add on to the end as well is especially now, because I guess a lot of us are going to be going into gigs in the summer after not gigging for a long time, is do a bit of preparation before your gigs in, learning your songs, try and get a bit more gig fit, understanding your material, and just do a little bit of maintenance. Like we said, go back to episode 6 and 7 of the Guitar Smarts podcast, where we talked about your 8 tips, Kiran, for looking after your instrument and taking care of it, but also do the same thing for your amp and for your pedal board. Take your connections out of your pedal board, give everything a clean, get the dust off of it, give yourself the best chance of not having any problems when you get back to gigging.
Yeah, that's good advice. I did the same to my pedal board the other day. Just didn't completely strip it down, but some of those little bits of Velcro here and there needed replacing. A couple of little bits of cable management needed improving, and just got it properly ready so that it's gonna. It's not going to be a case of when I get to that first kind of gig that it's kind of like, I hope everything works. It's kind of like, no, everything's good to go. Yeah, it's all good to go. So yeah, no, it's really useful. I think what we'll do, mate, is we'll put this list on our social media sites, right? We'll put it on our Instagram page and on our Facebook page, so people can just have that list to kind of check through as they're packing their up for their first gigs when we can get back out there again, because it's quite a useful little checklist just to have to hand. So once this episode is out, you'll be able to get that list off our Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. Fantastic. And I think our overall mantra here, right, is just be prepared and look after your equipment properly.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll enjoy the gig. You'll enjoy the gig more. And if anything goes wrong, you're there. You're sorted.
Yeah. So my last question to you, I'll always ask you this. What have you been listening to this week? And have you been playing guitar?
Yeah, so this week, again, prepping for gigs. So learning a bunch of stuff. I've got another band that I'm going to go and have a look at, and with a view to perhaps joining them for the future. And that is all kind of classic rock stuff. So there's a few rock bands that I've been making some introductions with. And so, yeah, my next week looks like learning a whole bunch of classic rock stuff to kind of use in anger at some gigs, hopefully. So, yeah, I'm enjoying that. It's a nice challenge and we'll probably cover this in another episode, getting ready for band tryouts and joining a new band and things like that, and what it means to learn that material and integrate with a new bunch of musicians. So, yeah, I've got lots of homework ahead of me for the next couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah. How about you, mate? What's on your practice rotor at the moment?
Mainly, my practice has been slow recently, just because work's been quite busy. But when I have been practicing, I'm trying to actually get my picking speed up a little bit. If you remember when we spoke to Matt Lake, he said it's good to kind of record yourself every so often so that you can see your progress. So that's the thing I'm working on, because I want to, record myself doing kind of like a little picking speed exercise and then being able to compare those videos. So I'm working on that. Music-wise, just been listening to, what I would usually listen to, really, a bit of Clapton, some Bryan Adams stuff, actually, some random blues playlists and stuff. Toto, some other people. Yeah, so it's been all right. Been a good week.
Good man. Well, look, absolute pleasure chatting to you today. I tell you what, I'm really pumped up and excited now to get back out there, especially now we've got our gig bag sorted after this.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Cool. Brilliant, Matt. Well, it's good to see you. Another good chat.
Yeah, likewise.
Have a cracking week, and I will speak to you later on.
Yeah, cheers, Matt. Always a pleasure, mate. Speak to you soon.
All the best. See you later, mate. Another really interesting conversation this week. We hope you enjoyed it. Come back for more next week from the Guitar Smarts team. Come say hello to us on our social media pages. And remember to like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts so you never miss a show. Thanks again and see you soon.